Hello, welcome, Tim. Happy to have you here and learn more about how robotics are transforming wellness and helping with pain relief overall. I know there's a background on your end of what you have experienced from a personal standpoint, and then how you've been able to leverage that into the benefit and use of technology for others to have pain relief and for rehab. So over to you to give an intro, and feel free to dive into any specific things you find valuable for the audience.
Sure. Thank you for that introduction. I'm happy to be here, and I'm very glad you invited me. Tim Washburn with Robotic Rehab and Relief in Lake Orion, Michigan. We are a robotic physical therapy clinic. We have licensed physical therapists, but we do use technology and have a slightly different approach than traditional therapists. What drew me to this was a lot of injuries. I was a hockey player. I'm a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I am very active for my age. And I have a lot of old injuries I've been trying to keep in check. I really wasn't satisfied with what was being offered, medications, traditional physical therapy, massage, acupuncture, all kinds of things I tried. And nothing was really effective in the sense that it was temporary relief at best. And so I was really motivated from a selfish standpoint to try to find a solution to my problems. I crossed paths with the robotic physical therapy, probably did about 100 sessions of it, found that it was profoundly effective for me, what it does to muscle tension and the release that you can get from it. It's just phenomenal. It can get to hard to reach places. It can apply consistent pressure with the heat and vibration. And it's a therapeutic arm that just does the job that a therapist be using their thumbs for typically, or fingers, which have a lot of joints and give in them, where the robotic arm does not have that. It's very much more precise, and it doesn't get tired throughout the day, obviously. So that's why we opened up. Now, as we opened up and I started running the place with my therapist, we learned that the robot's great and it's a huge tool for us, but we need to incorporate other things with that. So we have a very sports physical therapy mindset where we do load-bearing exercises a lot, not heavy loads. Doesn't mean you're lifting 200 pounds, but we put load on you. It could be 5 pounds, 10 pounds, a small kettlebell, just medicine ball, something to incorporate with the robot. So the robot loosens the muscle tension, restores balance in your body, but then we need to strengthen what's weak to try to keep you there. And so we take a two-prong approach of getting you right with the robot and other hands-on. We have dry needling, we have scraping, we have variety of hands-on techniques. But the robot does what we say is like the heavy lifting. So it gets into the spots that they can't really get into well. And we can put the robot in your psoas, and then they can be working on your neck at the same time, which is not common in physical therapy settings. But with the robot, it kind of adds an extra hand to the therapist. So they're able to get in there and set the robot up. It does require a therapist to set it up. It needs to be put in the correct spot. The robot is not the type of robot that senses what's going on. The therapist does all that. The therapist assesses the patient, but the robot comes in and does very, very precise treatment very consistently, frankly, for as long as we want it to. Something that a therapist might be able to hold for 2 minutes, or that robot can go all day and do the same thing. So we find it very helpful. It's fun to be using something that is kind of cutting edge that the insurance companies don't even know about yet, or don't necessarily want to support yet. But it's cool to be on the cutting edge of healthcare for sure.
Totally. I find leveraging technology that in a way that helps us reach different places, get further, or at least have this, in this case, like the consistency that the treatment will be the same, because the strength and the heat and many other things that will be applied through this robotic this device, to put it in simple terms, will be
Sure.
always the same. And just talking about that, I know, for example, when I go and get some like tense machine approach, let's say, I can regulate how much intensity I use. So is it the same here, or how does it work?
That's a great question. So yes, it's exactly like a tens unit's a good example. And with the tens, you're doing intensity, but also frequency. And so you're controlling kind of two variables, and then you add in the time factor, right? Because everything's set for a specific time. With our unit, we can turn the vibration on and off. For example, if we're working on your temporalis up on your head, we would not turn the vibration on because it would shake your teeth out of your head. But or we can adjust it from literally very little vibration to very intense vibration. And so the vibration is an interesting thing. It's another thing that we have that I don't have in my thumbs, or a therapist have in their thumbs. And it's not like a super intense vibration, like a Theragun, for example. But what that vibration does is it kind of tricks your neurological system. And while it's in there, it confuses the muscles and the nerves a little bit, and then helps them to relax because it's creating extra stimuli for them. And but we can control that. So if we're on your neck, we might do say 20 or 30% vibration versus 100%. If we're on your psoas, it might be at 100%. So we're able to adjust the heat. The heat's not hot. It's just above body temperature. Um, I wouldn't mind it being a little warmer, honestly, but it feels warm. The bed is heated. The robot head is heated. If you don't turn the heat on, it gets very cold. It's a piece of metal, so it feels cold. But again, the heat increases blood flow and it helps with that. Then the pressure is between 3 and 30 pounds. So we can go from as little as 3 pounds, which honestly you can barely feel, up to 30 pounds. One of the questions or concerns people have along the lines of where you're going is, does it hurt? No, it doesn't hurt. We there if it's a sensitive spot, I mean, you're gonna feel that we're putting a robotic arm on a sensitive spot, just like if I touch that sensitive spot. But the robot, we don't want you to fight the robot. So if you're not able to relax, we'll back off the tension. We start very light and kind of work up. We find that men sometimes want that extra tension, but if they're not relaxing, the robot's going to win and you're going to get very sore the next day. So it doesn't hurt. I think it feels great. I usually fall asleep on it, frankly. A lot of people kind of doze off and relax. So it's very relaxing, but it is very targeted pressure. We can adjust the pressure, the amount of vibration, and whether the heat's on or off. So
Great. Sounds amazing. And then obviously it treats the common pain, as you mentioned, like injuries could be back, shoulder, neck, those ones that we know. So that's one of the things, treating or getting relief from pain. And the other one that is interesting as well to learn and to confirm is to help athletes enhance their performance and mobility. So will that be also another benefit, right?
yeah, it's absolutely a benefit. We wish we had more athletes coming in to do athletic enhancement and honestly, frankly, injury prevention. We deal with a lot of repetitive use injuries. You're sitting here at your desk on your computer, you're sitting a certain way, you're using your right hand for your mouse, using your left hand for your keyboard, and we all do it. And it puts us in this repetitive position over and over and over again. If we just live in a world where repetitive use injuries, honestly, everybody has them who's doing something. Um, and then you take an athlete like a golfer who has to hit 1,000 golf balls a week, or a baseball player who's swinging his bat. They're repeating the same motions over and over and over again, and they really need to be reset back in balance because they're creating imbalances. It's hard to get them to do that when they're not injured. When we get them when they're injured or in pain, sadly, that's when people want to come see us and want to take the time and the money to see us, is when they're actually hurt. And that's fine. We're very good at that. But I wish more people would just come into and increase their mobility, for example. We are finding, for example, just in our little clinic there in Lake Orion, these were the people I'm talking about were all older gentlemen, 45 and older golfers. Every one of them hits the ball further. Every one of them improved their scores because they're able to swing more fluidly. And all we did was just restore the balance and get some mobility for them. We're not teaching them how to hit a golf ball. We're not a golf coach. We're not going to the course with them. Every person we've treated for golf related stuff with their back and hips and shoulders has come in. One of our therapists is Titleist Performance Institute certified, so he knows the golf stuff. But it's just the program itself helps. That's just one example. But they always report back they're hitting the ball further and they're playing. The older guys can play 18 holes instead of 9. It's pretty fun, but it's just hard to get people to come in if they're not in pain, unfortunately, or recovering from an injury.
Totally. I think it's on point, and I've experienced that until I sometimes feel pain or tightness or so. I I'm proactive on, or not proactive, I'm reactive on taking care of the pain. But it's good to have awareness and try to change gears, focus on how can we proactively prevent, because then in the long term we're going to have less time invested in recovery, right? It's going to be just a preventive maintenance and is easier. But I'll
It's
defer
it's
to you.
funny. It's funny you said that. So when I was getting frustrated with the other treatments, one of my therapists said, you don't only have to come in when you're injured. And I wish I had my whiteboard here, but I drew it out for myself. I'm a business person, so I drew it out, right? And I was getting injured 3 to 4 times a year. And when I was every time I would get injured, I'd see my therapist 10 to 15 times because I'd be a mess. I'd be off the mat. I'd be upset because I couldn't live my life, couldn't do my stuff. My head would be a mess. Your diet becomes a mess because you're not doing what you like to do. And it's like a snowball effect that's very bad. And I lived it. And I was like, and she said to me that, and I was like, that. And I sat down, I said, so you just come in like once every 3 or 4 weeks. And so um that wasn't my idea, but it's very much a part of what we do. So we break our treatment down to 3 phases: reset, rehab, relief. The reset phase is let's get you out of pain and let's source the issue. One of the things we do better than most is we go and try to find the source. We look at the entire kinetic chain. So if you come in with knee pain, we are going to look at your knee, of course, but we're going to go right to the ankle because your ankle and your foot is how you're grounded to the earth. And that's what brings all the pressure up to your knee. And we're probably going to start with the foot and ankle, and we're going to see what's really going on there. If there's nothing there, which I can tell you most of the time there is, then we'll go up to the knee and then we'll look at that. And then we'll go up the chain to the hip and we'll work on that, and it's just, and sometimes we find people, it's funny, they come in for back pain, for example, and they're complaining about the back pain. It's terrible. It's terrible. And we start talking to them and then they say, well, I sprained my ankle 4 weeks ago. Well, now you're limping with a sprained ankle and you're tweaking your pelvis and now you're getting yourself out of rotation. And so the back pain starts with the foot. And if we take the traditional model with a doctor's order and we can only treat the back, we can't chase up and down that kinetic chain very well. We have to send you back to the doctor to say, yeah, doctor, I know you're very smart, but we think it's the ankle. And then doctors don't receive that very well, as you can imagine. And then you're in this conundrum of how do we solve that problem for the patient? In our cash pay setting, you're paying for the hour. We can do whatever we want for that hour. So we can chase all the way up. A lot of neck pain, for example, comes from scapular movement, lack of scapular movement. So people who sit at a desk all the time, people who are on podcasts, people who are doing these things, their scapulas tend to get locked up, and we can loosen that scapula, and then your trapezius lets go, and all of a sudden your neck doesn't hurt. And honestly, it's bizarre because we didn't even touch your neck. And so the kinetic chain theory of just chasing up and down the kinetic chain and figure out where the cause of the issue is, we really, really, and the therapists we have, our team is really strong at this, but we always challenge each other. Like anytime there's a patient who's not getting better as quickly as we'd like them to get better, we challenge the situation and say, are we finding the actual issue? We call it the layers to the onion. Like, they come in with back pain, you peel that off, you find the hip issue, then you peel that off, and all of a sudden you're down under their foot. Or they're up in their neck or shoulder. I mean, it's wild kind of what we find sometimes, but that's our mindset. We don't come in with an order from a doctor and say, okay, they said hip pain, and we just focus on the hip. We're looking at the whole body, trying to figure out exactly where the cause of that is, and then we loosen it. A lot of people have foot and ankle issues, calf tightness, things that they don't think are a big deal, that impact their knees, hips, and lower back. And then another one that we'd like to deal with too, that I would like to see more of, is pregnant women. You're carrying a baby in your stomach. Your posture is terrible. Everything about what's going on to you is horrible. And I can't even imagine. And they didn't let guys carry babies because I don't think we could handle it. I mean, frankly. And so, but with all that, we can't really get into the abdomen area where the pain is because there's a baby in there. But we've found by loosening up the upper pecs and shoulders and getting some tension off the neck, that the women are able to stand up better. They're able to get some blood flow, and they're able to get a lot of relief. We can treat the side of the hips and some things down lower. And it's really a great treatment for these ladies, and they love it. But like, again, they're not a common patient of ours. That I think is a huge gap. That, it's really sad because you're carrying this baby and you're doing such a service to everybody, and we want to help, but they don't always come in. So there's some really neat stuff we can do for situations like that.
That's a great highlight. I find sometimes you're going through many changes, and many doctor visits and whatnot, but there's not enough awareness of other things you can do to take care of that pain. You go and you're like, maybe it's normal because I have a baby and I'm heavier and that's why I get all the pain. But there's an opportunity for getting pain relief to treat it. And as you say, sometimes there's an imbalance, and that's what it's triggering you to have pain in another area of your body. So that's great to know. And thanks for sharing. Anyone that knows someone who is pregnant or so, it's interesting to learn and to share, because I know I've been there, and while carrying babies, it was hard to cover lots of things. It's busy, you're tired, you have pain, you have lots of doctors appointments, checkups and whatnot. So an extra advice doesn't hurt. And I did went for some type of like chiropractic and special care for pregnancy. So great, a
Sure.
great highlight. And one
Sure.
of the key things that came while you were um, elaborating on how it works and whatnot, two questions that come into my mind. One is the sessions, if I understand correctly, they're overall 60 minutes long. That's one of the things, just to confirm if there's any specific things to highlight. And the other one, I know there's sometimes like comes in like is this covered by insurance? How does it work? Does my doctor need to refer myself to your care?
Those are great questions. So, in regards to the time, we book off time. We find that an hour is best for most people. We have a power lifter who comes in who moves massive amounts of weight. I mean, 700-pound deadlifts. I mean, this guy is a tree trunk, and he's a very powerful guy. He comes in for 3 hours. That machine takes time to eat into his. You can imagine how hard his tissue is, and so he comes in for 3 hours and he's fine. If it no, I sit on the machine for 2 hours, no problem, but I'm active and I'm used to the machine. If you came in off the street, typical person, not maybe in the best physical shape, if you did 2 hours, you probably would be sore the next day. The other thing is, not to get off topic of your question, but just it fits in here, is there's this very neat effect with the robot, and we are targeting one thing. That arm goes in there and targets one thing, and we do it for an extended period of time. So when you get up, I always tell people like 30 minutes to 2 hours after, you'll feel your body continue to adjust, because whatever was that muscle was pulling and now it's not pulling. And then it takes a minute for the other muscles to say, oh, this muscle let go. Now I can relax. And it's even me, with as many treatments as I've had, I will see it and feel it. I'll just get up out of a chair or I'll be walking. And so you have this like after effect. So if we were to treat too many points on a typical person, we wouldn't know. It can get very loose, and we don't want you too loose, if that makes sense. We want you to feel good and move well. But if you loosen things up too much, sometimes you have issues. So we like you for an hour and a half the first time. We find that it's like when people experience it's really funny to watch people as they come in the first time versus the second and after times. The first time, they're very nervous. They look at the robot. They have a bunch of questions. By the second time, they literally don't want to do anything else. They just jump on the robot and they just want to lie down and take a nap. And so it's just interesting. So like a lot of the people, we have a hard time signing up for an hour and a half the first time. We tend to run specials where we'll do a shortened treatment for an hour. And then the follow-up visits tend to be an hour or hour and a half. So 60 minutes or 90 minutes. And that's good for most people. If you are someone who's, we have a marathon runner who runs they do ultra marathons. They run an insane amount. We could treat them every day. I mean, literally, and twice a week's no big deal. The other thing too is, to touch on too, is because our treatment is so intense and so effective, a typical physical therapy is 3 times a week, sometimes twice, but typically 3. We're only seeing people once a week most often. If you came in terrible pain, we wouldn't tell you couldn't come back that week. We would see you again. But the standard protocol is once a week, which is much less frequent. So now you're shifting over to the question about the insurance. What the real question most people have is value, right? Like what they're asking is, does my insurance cover it? But what really matters is the value. Am I getting the value? With typical insurance, you're going to get traditional PT, which there can be some great therapists out there and it can work for certain situations. But I just find that I'm going to get in trouble here, but the insurance pay model tends to chase symptoms and kind of just follow their protocols. We want to know the actual cause of your issue. We don't get We're not directed by insurance companies or anybody else as to how we have to practice. You don't need a doctor's order to come see us. You have direct access in Michigan. You can just come and see us. So we don't have to follow that script. We want to really work with you. And I break it down into a thrive or survive mindset. And I think that our typical, frankly, our typical healthcare is very much a survive. Oh, you have a boo-boo, I'll put a Band-Aid on it, and you go to the next boo-boo. We don't like that. I've experienced this. I had a rib issue. It was intercostal rib issue. It was driving me crazy. Went to 3 doctors. They all asked me, what do I do? And I told, what did you do this week? And I told them what I did. And they said, every doctor said, stop. Don't do that. Well, I'm not going to stop training. It's not who I am. That ultra marathoner is going to run. They're going to run for sure. That's what they do. The carpenter's going to go work on the building tomorrow. The roofer's going to get up on the roof. We don't tell you not to do what you're doing. We work with you to try to get you to be able to do what you want to do pain-free, or at least with manageable pain. Some people have issues, structural issues. We can't fix a bone issue. We're not a surgeon, but we can really get your muscles in line and help with that. So we are cash pay, and I'm super excited about that. I worked in a medical office for 25 years. We had cash pay and insurance pay, primarily insurance pay. I've been audited by the biggest insurance companies. I've been audited by Medicare. I've dealt with all of them for years. And frankly, it just takes the people, the providers, away from doing the proper healthcare, in my opinion. So yes, we're cash pay. But when you break it down and look at, we're only treating you once a week. We're not treating you 3 times a week. You're going to have 3 copays typically to go 3 times a week. You got to get in your car 3 times. You have gas, miles, time. And for me and a lot of us, the most valuable thing we have is time. We're going to get you well in a lot less time. That's consistent across the board. Where we can get you depends on that. And it's funny, like we were talking earlier about the mindset thing. Once we get a patient in our system, they stay, and most of them are very compliant. We have people who come in once a month now. They're not having issues. They don't want to have issues. They realize if they just see us once a month. So typically it's like 8 to 12 visits to get you where we want to get you. And then we recommend every 2 weeks for 1 to 2 months, just to try to make sure you're doing your stuff and we're keeping you there. And then we go to once a month. And it's surprising how many people are willing to do that once they get and understand the system. And like you were saying earlier, like you wait, you feel the tightness, you ignore it. You feel a little bit of pain, you ignore it. You feel a bit more pain, you pop in a leave. This is how I can be guilty of it even today. I mean, I work there and I own the place and I can be treated whenever I want. And sometimes I don't get treated as early as I should. So I understand. I mean, it is what it is. But what we find is once we get people in there and they enjoy the experience and they understand what we're doing, they'll come back very quickly, because they'd rather come back to us once when they're having that little tightness and get it straightened out, versus wait for their back to go out where now they're on prednisone and everything else trying to get their nerves released. So yeah, we don't take insurance. We do take health savings. We are a medical provider. So if you have any sort of health savings account, we can take that. We do have packages that save people some money. We try to operate on the principle that if you're going to commit to your care and wellness, we'll take in that and also give you a discount on the visit. So a lot of people buy 10 packs or 20 packs, and that lets them save some money on the per visit cost. And then when you're there, another beautiful thing about not being cash or not being insurance model is, say we're working on your back, right? And we're doing your back and your back's getting better. And then I don't know, you work on a project and your neck hurts, you're having a headache or something that day. You come in and tell us that, we can shift over to your neck, do a little bit for your back, work on your neck and take care of your headache, versus like a traditional setting, we'd be stuck with whatever our doctor's order said. We can do your shoulders, your hips, and your neck on the same day. We can do your shoulders today and your hips tomorrow. We can do kind of, I don't want to say whatever we want, but whatever's justified and that you want to do. It's our patients are very much a part of the process. What are your goals? What do you want to get back to? Maybe you're not a marathon runner, but you want to take your kid for a walk. You want to be able to walk your dog without pain. Whatever that is, we focus on that, and we want to get you thriving in that environment and doing what you want to do. We don't focus on just kind of putting a Band-Aid and telling you not to do, don't take your dog for a walk, he's too big. That's not our motto. We're going to say, what's happening with the dog? What hurts? What's he pulling on? And we're going to work through that and get you in a better place to walk your dog.
That's great. I love a couple of things to highlight. I love that framing you have on what's going to be better on the long term and will make best use of your money. Like, even though if it's not insurance covered, you will end up getting back time, which is what is scarce for everyone here. I'm sure that time is one of the most valuable things we have, and then you're going to get that time to spend it with your loved ones or doing what you love. That's the other thing that you mentioned. Like sometimes uh, being a bit probably on nervous about if I go, then they are going to tell me not to do my favorite sport for a couple weeks or not to do certain activities that we enjoy doing. And that's one of the things that deter others to take the treatment or the care that they are supposed to take. For myself, when I got a back injury, I was really stressed out of, okay, I'm not going to be able to work out for how long. So getting the care you need and someone to really connect and know how it's like not to be active or doing what you love. That's another great thing, the approach you take on we're going to get you there, we're going to support you so you can keep doing your things, and as long as we're um, doing the treatment as much as it's needed, then you're going to keep doing what you like and even more, and especially enjoying without pain. So that's great. Thank you. Thanks for all those insights. And well, one of the things that I want to ask before we have to wrap it up would be, I know you are situated in a specific geography and then it's hard for others to commute, but just to know if there's any specific plans on how you can maybe reach farther or have other alternate places, maybe, I don't know, partnerships. If I'm just making things as we go to figure out if there's ideas for others that might be interested to learn more. And probably, as you said, like for certain individuals, just going once a month after getting a couple treatments, that will be great. So if you live somewhere, maybe an hour, 2 hours drive, might be worthwhile just exploring and trying it, because obviously the long-term results and the benefits are worth worth it.
Yeah, we have so a couple things on that. We have people driving to see us because we're very unique and very special. And I wish I could be in every community for everybody, but we can't. When we opened this clinic, we had every intention of opening multiple clinics, and I still have that intention. We're just trying to figure out, frankly, our messaging. I can talk to a person very well and explain to you what I do and how I do it and how it can benefit you. But when you're online and running ads and stuff, it's very hard to get people to get over that hurdle. We are finding our organic growth is much more powerful than our internet-based stuff. I spend a lot of money on ads every month and I get very little back. But when we get people in the door, you know, we teamed up with local athletic trainers, local chiropractor, some of these local doctors even, and they're sending us people, and that's a very productive relationship, and the business is growing that way. We are just really struggling to get people to understand the value in what we do and how different it is. It's very hard in a professional setting to be respectful of the establishment and what's going on and how people are accustomed to receiving care and all that, and also say, yeah, that's kind of garbage and we do it so much better. It's really hard to get that across in a professional way. And when I'm talking, I have no problem saying it because I believe it from the bottom of my heart. I've lived it for over a quarter century. Like, I know what happens over there. I know they tell us what medicines to prescribe. I know they tell us who can get physical therapy and for how long. I know what happens over there. And I know I see our therapists be so happy at work because they're free to do what they think is best for the patient. Basically without restraint. I mean, they can kind of it's just them and the patient figuring out the problems and getting to the solutions. So as that education builds and and I take responsibility for that too, because, we're working on our website right now. We got to make our website better because it is robotic therapy and we do use the robot, and I do love the robot and it's super effective what it does, but that's way too simple. That's not all we are. We're that sports minded, thrive, don't survive mindset, find the root cause of your issue, reset you, get you out of pain, figure out what's going on, rehab you, get you stronger where you're weak, get you moving where you weren't moving. And then the relief phase is you get long-term relief. We don't want you coming back. We want you coming back because you're doing what you love and you took it too far and you jumped off whatever this weekend and that's fine. We're fine with all that. We don't want you just getting through life. Now there's, on the flip side of that, we have a patient right now who's terminally ill with bone cancer, terrible pain. And our only job is to give him some relief. So he comes in, we make him feel as good as we can. And that's what our job is in that instance. But that's a very unique situation. Typically, we're trying to get you back to doing what you want to do and keep you doing what you want to do. So yeah, I would say we're going to expand as fast as the community lets us. Hopefully things like this, I try to talk to people. We do a lot of local events. Hopefully things like this put the word out there and people go, wait a minute. The first question people ask on the phone is not, are you a good fit? Not, hey, this is what I had. They literally every time, do you take my insurance? And they're so afraid of the cost. I think people forget with deductibles and copays and co-insurance, how much that insurance is costing you, how much is this costing you. At the end of the day, if you spend $100 and didn't get well, or $200 and did get well, that's really not a conversation to me. I mean, you spend the money and get well, but we're having a hard time getting that messaging across, not to the people who come in. Once they're in, it's great, but just getting the common community to understand that we are very, very different. I have physical therapists who work for me and work other places, and I can tell you they're great. I can also tell you when they go to their other place and they're confined by insurance, they operate differently because they have to. And so you can take the world's greatest therapist and put them in a confined situation where they can't do what they need to do or what they want to do, and they're limited, where in our situation, they're not. They can just do what they think is best. So yeah, we are going to expand as soon as we get stabilized here and the community keeps, it's been very warm, like I said, but it's a slow organic growth. The internet stuff like this, I hope that eventually we get the message out that this is just different and better, and you deserve different and better. So you're worth spending a couple dollars on yourself. We spend money on a fancy dinner. We spend money on cocktails. We spend money on cigarettes and vapes and everything else in the world. And it's like getting people to just spend and invest in themselves, and try to feel better and be better. And it's hard to do. And so that's the fight we're trying to learn how to fight. And I'll be honest, we're still working on it. The messaging is changing all the time, because we're just trying to get out there what we do and how different we are. And how, honestly, I'm not embarrassed to say how special we are. It's a very special place. I mean, the people come in there and they are happy and they get well and they feel good. It's just slowly they're putting the word out in the community, but on the national and global scale, we're not even relevant, which is sad because it's a neat opportunity. And I think that when people shift their mindset, then eventually the insurance companies and government will have to also shift their mindset. And when people say this care isn't good enough, then the standard of care will change. But that's people just kind of go through and worry about costs first and foremost, and not wellness and being better first and foremost. So we're not a great fit for everybody. It does cost money to come see us. We are worth it. we are probably underbilling, honestly. We provide a great service and we can help a lot of people, but it's just getting people on board with that. But we'd love to expand and I want to go get out, not just in Michigan, but I've got some other places I'd like to get to. But I got to get, one at a time and get our thing going. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. And great to reflect on how we prioritize our overall wellness. I know we can fall into the trap of insurance. We have insurance, and then if it's covered or not, then we make the call. But it's totally an interesting way to see things and how we approach our overall wellness and feeling pain-free, and we have movement and balance in our bodies. So I will really invite everyone listening to explore, to see what are the benefits, how easy you can get some results and then feel well on the long run. So that's great. Thanks for reflecting and helping others realize how easy it's just to figure things out. You will get your health, you will get your happiness, you will get a balance, many things back, and not just the money per se. So that's great for everyone listening to us. And I find spreading the word through this type of content, educational pieces, and then, as you say, like events, partnerships, and things that come into play will help a lot drive awareness and create changes for others that are looking to get support with their health.
Absolutely. And if you're ever in the area, please come see us. We'd be happy to have you
Yes,
take a look at your
thank you.
back and get you going. So be my
Yeah,
honor.
I'll plan something. We're not too far, so
Okay.
any Canadians listening to us close to the border, I think it's not such a long drive, especially like Sarnia area and
Windsor
other.
as well. Yep. Windsor and
Exactly.
Sarnia. My other office was in Troy. We had people from Canada all the time. So we're very close and we'd be happy to treat them as well, for sure.
Thank you. Thanks for your kindness, and totally worth the drive and meeting you as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
I
Take care.
appreciate your time and all the insights.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Tim.